feel a lot of things amazing. I mean, I think it's one of the most awesome calls that I could ever, I guess, experience. But then by the same time, I love my kids so much and feel such a great responsibility that sometimes it also feels like overwhelming. I feel like way out of my league. and sometimes I feel like I just absolutely don't know what I'm doing, but I feel so fortunate.
It's a whole different experience. It's so many emotions wrapped up into one one day or one time. But no, I enjoy it. I love it. I was proud. Um, we had been raising, we had been working with kids for a while when I was younger. So I was used to being around kids. And I always wanted to have kids young. But it was still kind of surreal because we were young and there it was. We had planned, we wanted to have a kid, and then she got pregnant, and yeah, I was proud, man.
Providing. Providing for your family. Security. Protecting. And trying to do the best you can.
One of the greatest lessons I've learned is having 4 children is to raise each child according to their own bent. That every child is different, and because one child did one thing doesn't mean that the others are going to do the same thing. Each child is an individual, and you must see them as a distinct individual when raising them.
My fear is always first being a black man in America and trying to do the right thing is always marked with some kind of division. Probably because a lot of people don't expect black men to do great. They expect our sons just to be thugs, sports stars. But it takes more to raise a family and keep your sons and daughter on a narrow path with all that's going on out there. Life is hard as it is, and for a son to become a man and to raise a family, a father worries.
Well, I mean, obviously, becoming statistics, and that's any kind of statistic. That's whether they are perpetrators of certain things, not just crimes, but other things like, overwhelming debt, bad decisions, buying things that they can't really afford and not having ways to get out of them and things like that. But then obviously, getting caught up in things of criminal nature, obviously. And then also being victim to things, being victim to scams, being victim to criminal activity, being a victim to those who use, authority in the wrong manner, whether, that's vocational or just a professor at college or whatever. So those things concern me.
Also, as a people, we've given our power over to be oppressed, if you will. And so, you could walk out in the street and a cop can shoot you, and then there's no justice on the back end, and there's a system set up in place for that. So the thing I would hate is for either one of my kids' life to be shot down because we allow this power structure. Yeah, I wouldn't want that power structure that we allow to take place to prematurely take down the life of my kids.
Well, being African American, part black, biracial, whatever you want to call it, that he's already going to be judged. Yeah, it's one of those things that, that's my fear, that he won't get into things because of what he looks like, or get associated with the wrong people, if you will, as far as just being in a crowd and he gets pointed out, even though he didn't do anything. That's my fear of where I don't want to get that call one night or one day like, Dad, I didn't do anything, but I'm locked up, or So I just pray and just hope and pray that you can instill, and then hopefully he uses the right judgment to do the best that he can.
I guess just wanting them to be well-rounded, obviously wanting them to, so in many ways I guess the fears are based upon, I guess, me and trying to decipher and figure out so there's a lot of things that I feel like I've been instructed to do these specific things for them. So some of it is just trying to figure out the when. Like, when is it too early to start trying to, harp on these things? Is it too, when is it wise to do certain things, and just trying to find balance, not to push the envelope, or not to push things, not to be too ambitious, to be too quick. And then also, I guess just the reality of, I hadn't thought about it much until, obviously, I guess until I had them. The reality of, the reality of raising two black kids, particularly both males. Because of some of the stigma, the statistics, stuff is real.
I like the kids to know who they are. I want them to be proud of how far along the family's come, and not just our immediate family, but our ancestors. That our history doesn't start with slavery; it goes way beyond that, and that the spirit that's passed from generation to generation is something that passes right along to them. So it kind of sets the tone for what their life should be, where it should go. I want them to be able to define success outside of what you see on TV or what you get in school. That success ain't about how much money you have or that you're able to get a big house and things along those lines, but success is more of an extension of what contribution do you have to the legacy. So, I mean, whether you make a lot of money with that or not, I kind of want them to be able to see themselves in that aspect. So whether you go to college or not, or whether you have a lot of money or not, or whatever the case may be, that you find that you can use your gifts and your talents towards building out a better legacy for what the family has worked hard for, and hopefully to extend the family. That would be incredible.
Believe it or not, my son already has shown me the man I expected him to be. I knew our relationship was rocky in the beginning, but I guess through trials, tribulations, and seeing that what I do to provide for our family, which I knew at sometimes he didn't understand, but he had grown to understand that role because now he's in it.
Well, I hope that one, that they would know God above all. That's number one, that they would be a man of God. Number two, I hope that they would be grow up to be independent. And in terms of what I mean is financially independent, right, from us. Obviously, we're all interdependent in some way, but to be independent, be able to take care of themselves, should be God's will for them to be able to provide for their families, provide for their children, and to take care of themselves. And then obviously for them to accomplish their God-given task, whatever that is. If they're going to be a janitor, be the best janitor that you can be. You're going to be a doctor, be the best doctor that you can be. You're going to be a missionary, be the best missionary that you can be. So those would be some of the goals that I would have for them.
Just to be able to properly process the world that they live in. Also, one of my great hopes as well is that they will actually be ready to, if they're not called to singleness, so to speak, but that we would be able to raise them, Shane and I would be able to raise them in such a way that they will be ready to marry a lot earlier in their lives than I was.
Hopes that I have for my son is that he grows up and just is a respectable person. That's the number one thing. Just be a good person. Leave your mark. I do want him to leave a mark. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge thing, but just know that, wow, that's Linus. He's about something, and I want to be like him. I want other kids and other adults to see that in him as he keeps growing. You talk to that kid. He knows what he's doing. Or and for my daughters, that's we might have a whole nother say. No, but for them just to be, respectable women. Don't be afraid of anything. Don't let anything hold you back. There's nothing out here that you can't do.
I want for my kids, so verbally, my intention is to teach them clearly biblical concepts. So, I'll teach them, okay, sons, the first and foremost command, love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, right? But what I want to leave as a legacy, and I want them to sense, is that at some point as they're getting older and they become men, that they will be able to say, I saw what it's like to love God. Like I saw it. Like I know. So in some senses, they're able to distinguish between others who may say they do, or when as they're beginning to lead their families and love a wife and take a wife themselves and maybe prayerfully have kids of their own, that they can model it because they have seen it, that they can say, my dad wasn't perfect. They could probably, I'm sure they'll be able to list tons of things that their dad didn't get right. And not that I perfectly modeled it, but I want them to be able to say, but my dad loved God and he lived that out to the best of his ability. And then I guess we let the chips fall where they may.
I want to make sure that I'm building on top of the foundation that was laid for my parents. But I'm also realizing that the things that I'm trying to incorporate in my family are a little bit different than the way my parents raised me and were raised. There are things that we learn when we try to survive. So, for example, the foods that our enslaved ancestors ate, we look at that now and say, that's not healthy. But when you don't have that option, you take whatever you can take. But then the next generation, once you survive that, once they successfully, push the family forward, you re-examine, you say, you know what, we can do better than this. We appreciate what you've done. So some of the pressure is to ensure that this new direction is the best direction. Because it's one that I've never seen before. You want to envision a future for your family of something that might not exist currently. And, that's for anything. Not so much like, I have a dream or anything along those lines. But when you see that there's problem areas and it's like, we can do better than this. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like for us or but I know that this is right. So I hope to lay a better foundation for them so that they can go a bit farther, and not just for our own family, but to push people farther as well.
I consider myself being blessed because a lot of people are not fortunate, one, to have a son or to have children, let alone different generations that you can look back on And I worried not only for my son, but the girls, the grandchildren, great grandchildren, that they'll see that even though it wasn't easy, their father and their grandfather did the best that he could and gave them what they needed to survive and to persevere. Providing for your family. Security. Protecting. And trying to do the best you can.
So certainly faith in God. Another one is hard work. So definitely want them to be hard workers, to earn their way. And obviously we know that people will help you along the way to do that, but I want them to put in the work, whether that's going to school, whether that's being in the service, military, whether that's finding a technical vocation. I want them to put in that work and make sure that they do their best to earn a living. I want them to see their family as their responsibility. It's not just a goal to accomplish or a dream to have a beautiful wife and a lot of kids. It's a responsibility to have those. And so I want them to value that. And then I want them to value some of the things that I value now in my own household, like peace. We value peace. We pursue peace at all costs. And sometimes that means saying, I'm sorry. Sometimes that means saying, hey, you owe me an apology, right? But we're pursuing peace at all costs. And then laughter, lots of laughter. Sometimes we take ourselves way too seriously. And so I want our kids to be able to laugh at themselves. I want them to be able to laugh at each other. And I want them to be able to laugh when it's appropriate to laugh. I want them to be able to laugh. So, and then the last thing would be love, lots of love. Love people, love each other, love yourself, love God. We want lots of love.